Welcome back to HendosHotTopics, the podcast to distract your mind. Real people and their stories, raw and uncut.
Kia ora everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to HendosHotTopics. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're having an amazing day, and of course, I hope you're doing what makes you happy. Now, this is the first time I've done a proper podcast in here for a while now. Now, what I'm looking at behind where you guys are is where my two podcast chairs used to be with my HHT neon sign on the wall. And for this episode, we're on the other side of the camera, which is kind of like breaking down the fourth wall. Now, I thought, let's do today's podcast from here, because my bed is where I'm most comfortable, where I do a lot of thinking, and where I've done a lot of growing and soul searching. We'll get to the point, a lot of soul searching the last month or so. You're like, what are you on about? Now, if you haven't seen the hundreds of times I've mentioned it, last month I had surgery. So last August last year I did an injury happened while I was playing football, and I thought I just hyperextended my knee or just twisted it funny, yada yada. A month go by, MRI, physio, got a call. Had pretty much done the worst of my knee, ACL, MCL, and meniscus. So plan was to get surgery in the year. That was penciled in, and then my plan was to go overseas for Christmas and New Year's. Plans had changed, so the new date was to be start of March. Now, start of March, I was very grateful and blessed to go overseas for mahi, so it got pushed back to last month in April, and finally got it done. Had the full works on my knee, and it has been a journey. It has really been a journey. The first week when I got home, I was bedbound and I picked up insomnia, sleep deprived, and this will just show you how much I was sleeping. My screen time per day on average was at 21 hours. And before you say, you could have just gone to sleep, when I tell you I couldn't go to sleep, I was on some of the hardest painkillers you can get prescribed from the hospital, and they just wouldn't knock me out. I couldn't get to sleep because of the pain, the discomfort, just so many factors. So the first week was really, really tough, especially those early hours of the morning, and I'm just laying here by myself, and the world outside is quiet, and all my friends are asleep, and I've got to the point of where I'm sick of binge watching YouTube and Netflix, and there were just a lot of moments where I felt alone. I really felt alone and really felt trapped. And I'm gonna get quite raw right now. I've tried explaining this to my mum and my auntie, and I just can't figure out how to explain it. There was one night where I was laying in bed, and I had just been laying here for hours, couldn't get to sleep for obvious reasons, and I was just thinking. And I remember laying in this corner of my bed, and I was just stuck in a trance, because I had this unbelievably odd sensation that there was a box in my chest. Imagine the feeling of just a lunch box or an extra large size kind of matchbox sort of size stuck in my chest, and all my thoughts and all my emotions were centered into this box in my chest, and I felt like the only reason I could let it out was just going, ah. But at this point it was 4 a.m, so I'm not going to go and do that. So I actually grabbed my pillow and tried to go into my pillow, and it just didn't work. And I felt so weighted down and so entrapped within my own body because of the sensation of a box in my chest with all my thoughts and feelings, and just my whole feeling of being was in this box. And it was the weirdest feeling and the weirdest thing I've ever felt, ever experienced, ever tried to think and talk myself through at the moment and after it. And I did a lot of thinking, and I picked up journaling a week before, picked it back up a week before surgery, because I thought this would really help me. And honestly, I'm so glad I did. It may have been that same night or the night previous. I wrote 4 pages out in my journal, and I haven't actually read it back since I'd done it. And I'm not going to read anything back in my journal until I finish my rehab, which is between 9 to 14 months, so in a wee while. But I actually recall drawing diagrams to just get words out of my head and put them into a picture perspective, and draw what I was feeling. So we'll get into that a bit more, but today is Friday the 16th of May. It is Pink Shirt Day, as you can tell there's my foot from what I'm wearing. And pink shirt day is an interesting one. As I was growing up, pink shirt day was apparent and important to me as it was. But as I'm getting older and I can look back on my childhood and growing up in my primary school and intermediate phases where I went through a lot of growing, pink shirt day has become more important to me in a mature perspective, and the importance and meaning behind it has changed drastically from that perspective of growing up and really analysing what went on. And I'm not going to go into my story because I have a podcast that talks about my story, but just to kind of save you from listening to it, my primary school and intermediate stage of my life was real crucial and really make or break for me, and a big shout out to my family. I was an outcast through that whole time period. I looked different because I was bigger than all the other kids, and the things that were going on in my life for that period, it caused me to grow beyond my years with my emotional kind of the way I thought emotionally, and just the way I felt emotions, and the way I perceived and the world and my perspective on things was just a lot more mature than a lot of others my age at that time, which caused me to be an outcast because I was seen as different. And it got to the point where I actually had to become friends with those who made me an outcast and my bullies, just so I had the sense of actual friends. So yeah, getting older, the likes of pink shirt day, it's important to me. It's important to me looking back on my childhood and those crucial years. And I'm actually wearing my 538 minutes for mental health shirt, which is a few years ago I was part of the group with my football club where it was a fundraiser for men's mental health, where for 538 minutes football was played for the 538 lives that were lost that year. So as soon as I realized pink shirt day was coming up, I thought, I know exactly the shirt to wear. I actually also found out before we carry on that I thought it was a worldwide thing, like a worldwide kind of awareness day, but it only happens in Canada, New Zealand, and Germany, and it seemed to have started and been created in Canada. So, hey, you learn something new every day. But yeah, so April, May has been probably two of the biggest years mentally for me out of my whole life, I would like to say. A lot of journaling's been done, a lot of thinking, and there's a lot of unknown ahead. And that's been my biggest challenge, is not analysing, trying to analyse and focus on the unknown that's to come in the next 9 to 14 months. I had a real raw moment in the first week when I was at home. It was second week. First week I was bedbound. Second week I started moving around on my crutches. And I went to the bathroom, which is about 3 doors down, but it felt like 3 flights. It felt like a long time and a long distance. So if you've been on crutches before, you kind of know it kind of goes right, left sort of thing. Because I was so in the clouds still, and I was so just frazzled with just everything. Because bear in mind, I have the first 2 weeks I had no energy. Getting up was at the utmost. That was my next 30 minutes of doing anything. The energy just goes like that. So because I was dazzled and dazed and sleep deprived and all those kind of things, I just miscalculated things, and I stumbled my left foot into my left crutch. And just out of reaction from stopping my stuff from stumbling, I quickly bent my left knee to get it out of the way, which is my bung knee. And at that time, the movement and range was very, 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 very minimal. And being it had only been not even just over 7 days at that point, I bent it at such a quick rate and felt like I'd redone my injury. I was sitting on the toilet on the verge of breaking down because my IT band on the outside was flared up and it was hard and stiff already more than it was. My whole knee had stiffened up. I was getting pain in my upper leg like I'd done when I'd just done the injury. And I got worried, and I messaged my physio. And we have some family mates who are very up in the kind of health and surgical arena in the country, and my parents spoke to them, and they both said it would be fine. It would be fine. It's just your shock, and your body's kind of compensating because you haven't really moved, and it's been through a lot of pain, so it's kind of in overprotective mode. So that helped me a lot. A few days I was really worried there that I'd redone it, and I hadn't realised just the procedure of the surgery. Obviously I knew what was getting done, but I hadn't really thought through the procedure. And it was quite a funny story in the recovery room. You go from surgery to kind of care unit to a recovery room. And in the recovery room, obviously I was still in the clouds on anesthetic and some other pain stuff they'd given me in the care unit. And the lovely lady who was looking after me, I've actually got to, well, let's actually just get these names out. I wrote down all the names of the people who actually helped me after surgery, because I was hoping that one day I could, I don't know, maybe give them flowers or help them. Let's bear with me, guys. One moment. We're here. Have I got it? Surely I still have it. Right. Why would I delete it? Well, that's awkward. Huh. Deleted it. That's very strange. Anywho, so oh wait, can you get notes back? Hang on, team. We're gonna figure out what's happened here. Notes. Can you find? Is there a thing for like recently deleted notes? Was that a thing on notes, or was that not a thing? Am I just imagining? Am I imagining things? Anyway, okay. So I had a lovely lady who was looking after me in the recovery room, and for the first probably hour, she was talking to me, and I actually told my boss this, my mate Mark at work. I told him this. I told Mum this, and I had an out of body experience, the weirdest thing I've ever felt. So she was on my left talking to me, asking for me if I was okay. I had no feeling in my body. I was sitting in this recliner with my leg up. I had no feeling in my body, and it just felt like all I could feel and hear was the ambience of the room. I remember at one point she was just standing there, felt no feeling in my body. I just felt the ambience. I could see her mouth moving, and I couldn't understand or hear a word she was saying. And I just saw from over my right shoulder her and I. And it was the most bizarre feeling. Even thinking about it now kind of gives me tingles. But I had an out of body experience, and it was just weird. It was it's so bizarre. Anyhow, so I've done a lot of thinking the last month. My priorities have changed. I've got a lot of new goals to my list. A lot of goals that I wrote on my board at the start of the year have had to be changed. I'm working towards new ones that will get me to those ones. But it's just the likes of, I'll give you an example of what I have to do for exercises. So one of the first ones is, I've got a brace on, so it's quite hard, but bending my knee up and down, right? And I've taken a lot of things for granted. I've had appreciation for a lot of things. I've thought about things such as football, which has been a massive part of my life. You know, my goal is to get back to football, but at what level do I try go for again? That's been the biggest thing. And for me, it's always been, it's either competitive or you don't play at all. So I kind of feel like I'm going to have to work towards biting the bullet. Maybe give competitive a go again, but just getting ready to bite the bullet in case that doesn't happen. But I got asked on a live, maybe in the first live I'd done since I had been bedridden, and it was just, how are you? I got into a bit of a ramble of how I'd done a lot of soul searching, and have had a lot of times where I felt so alone. I felt so alone in my bed, and I despised my bed, I despised my room, I despised my way of thinking, I despised, for a point of just who I was as a person in terms of the way I'd taken things for granted and the way that I had made excuses not to go to the gym or not go for a run or not put myself and my health first and not prioritize eating good and sticking to my plans and my goals and my rhythms and tempos and routines and yada yada yada. Just why? And I really broke a lot of things. Before I get ahead of myself, there's a lot of things I'm not going to air out on here, and I hope you can respect it and understand it. Excuse me. But there are a lot of things that I broke down to the core root because obviously I had a lot of time. And the core to it all was validation from myself. I lacked the sense of validation from myself. You know, for example, my weight journey over the last couple of years, I put on so much weight and I got it all down, And I got to the point where I was like, yeah, this is sweet. This is all good. I'm sweet now. And then my injury came along, which meant I kind of fell back on myself again. And I'd stopped giving myself validation to keep going, to remember how good it felt when you'd done it, and this and that and that. And even though I couldn't run, which is a big part of what I created as myself and the way I carry myself to better myself, there were other things I could do to get back on track. And when I say validation, I don't mean, hype myself up and put myself on a pedestal and I'm the man, all this. It's just like, you're doing well, mate. Look how far you've come. Look at what you've done for yourself. That kind of validation. And because I'd done what I did, and I was already in a rut because I did it, and I'd worked so hard to get back into football, and I had to stop playing football, and I started falling back and taking more than 2 steps back and struggling to take 1 step forward, I had lost that validation to just support myself. And that led to other things such as stopping my good eating, slacking on podcasting like I said I was going to do, just the way I carried myself, the way I was a son, the way I was a brother, the way I was a friend, a colleague. It just really caused me to, I think, slack. I had some people close to me saying they were real proud of how I had handled stuff and the way I just got back on the horse. And I'm very grateful that I have people like that around me to remind me that I actually am doing well. Because I am really bad at talking myself down and not giving myself the validation and not giving myself the pat on the back. So it is nice just to actually be reminded every now and again that amongst all this chaos, you're actually doing well, and you're fine, and you're good, and you should be proud of yourself. But even though I was being given that love and appreciation from those close to me, I felt like I'd fallen back down to level 1. I'd worked all this way up to the very top, just about to walk out to the top, and I'd been pushed all the way back down, which meant that screw everything I'd built up and every other habit that I'd created and every other routine that I'd formed to help get me to the spot. Screw all of that. I can't run, so why bother continuing anything else? And it just led on to a whole heap of other things, mentally, just personally, And there's some things I won't get into, so it kind of, there's some spaces in this story that I'm telling you. So I'm hoping that what I'm saying kind of forms enough of a picture that you can understand. But there's a long journey ahead. There's been a lot of emotional moments recently. A lot of dark times. I'll be real, a lot of dark times, a lot of moments where, not where I've questioned my life or anything like that, just a lot of questioning me as a being. Am I happy with how I've treated myself for the time frame I was thinking of at this moment? How am I is it too late to stop and regain yourself and rebuild yourself for this journey that's to come? Like, one of the things that I had put to myself was, I'm going to do no alcohol for my whole journey. Not even touch it, not even sniff it, nothing. No alcohol the whole of my journey, because when it gets to the point that I can put all my priority into my health and fitness, back in the gym and running and yada yada, I want my body to have the best chance at getting back to where it was when I was the most healthiest mentally and at my near healthiest physically. Well, starting to get that way, so to say. I want to give myself the best chance to have the opportunity to get back on track when I can get back on track. And slowing down has been my biggest enemy. It's been the biggest gift and the greatest curse, along with time. Being able to slow down and actually just stop and use the time that I've been given to try better myself. Even now, right? What am I now? I'm just over a month since surgery. And it was even the third week back, the start of the third week back. I should have still been at home, right? But I wanted to get out of the house. I wanted to see the boys at mahi. I wanted to do mahi, not from my bedroom. So I was on crutches, yada yada. And as soon as it hit 4 weeks, I was like, sweet, right? And my physio's real stoked with where I am post-surgery. He's really impressed and really happy with my progress. But he's reminded me, he goes, you're only 4 weeks down, yeah? You're only 4 weeks down, mate. Just still take it easy. Use the crutches if you have to. Take painkillers if you have to. Listen to your body. And laying here now, my knee is throbbing and aching, and I just need to remind myself to take it easy. Right? I've still got 9 to 14 months to go. I've only done a month, and I'm only just getting into proper rehab now. Like my knee is only just getting flexible enough, and the swelling's only just gone down enough where I can start getting into rehab again. So why am I rushing the process? Why am I've been given this blessing in a disguise to stop and not only focus on rehab for me physically, but spiritually and emotionally and mentally. Like, I feel like there's been a lot where I haven't really taken the time to think about and process and just acknowledge. Acknowledge is the word. There's a lot I haven't acknowledged because I've always been on the move with just life. So why not use this time that I've been given to just acknowledge those things I haven't had the time to acknowledge? So I'm not gonna. I realized I really wanted to go into depth with what's been happening so far, but there is a whole nother aspect that I want to talk on, and that's going to be one of the 2 next episodes this month. So I'm gonna settle it down there, because I don't want to go too deep into it, because I do want to break down some different aspects, because I really want to use this kind of journey I'm on, and you will hear me talk about my injury and so on, because it's a whole new chapter of my life, one that is unknown for me, but 2, because I know there's a lot of people, athletes, non-athletes, who are going through surgeries, who are going through injuries, and I've had my fair share. I've torn all the ligaments of both ankles. You know, growing up, I broke a clean split in my leg while I was growing, which was horrible. Broke my arm when I was little. Broke my nose 9 times. I've broken 3 fingers on my right. Like, I've had my fair share of breaks, and this is my first surgery at all. My first surgery altogether, sorry. So I know there's a lot of people who are going through surgery, might not be ACL rehab, but for those who are going through it, I want to be able to bring you along for this journey. Those who are going through surgery and having to go through any kind of rehab, but I want you to be like, hey, I felt like that. I had those moments. Shit. Damn, I need to slow down as well. Like, yeah, that's what I kind of want to use it for. Another blessing in disguise, and another negative into a positive. So you will hear me talk about it, and if you don't like it, then I don't really know what to say to you. But you know, there are people who I'm hoping it will help. So if you're one of those people, then I'm glad. So I'm going to be kind of using this journey not just to look back on for myself, but to help others who may need a bit of support. Yeah. So we'll break down some different aspects, not just my surgery, but the way I've been thinking and stuff I want to talk about in the next 2 episodes. But hey, it's a Friday. It's beautiful here in Tamaki Makaurau, Aotearoa. It's cloudy, no breeze, birds are chirping. Sorry, it's not cloudy. It's a little bit cloudy. Blue skies. I'm looking at blue skies, a little bit of clouds. Hear the birds chirping. And yeah, it's weekend. So you're going to have a chill one. Maybe hang out with some mates tomorrow. Go watch some footy tonight. And whatever you're doing this weekend, do it with happiness. Treat yourself with happiness. Treat yourself with kindness. Carry yourself with purpose. And make sure everything you do has a meaning behind it. Yeah, a positive one. Alright, guys. Do what makes you happy. Do what you know is right. And do what you need to do for you. I love you guys. Yeah. I'll see you guys for the next episode. See you.